Outside the Box Reviews, Predator Week returns, and today we are looking at the NECA Predators Wave 10 Kenner Tribute line, and this is the Hive Wars Predator. Every single Predator, or all three Predators in this line, are based off of old Kenner action figures from the early 90s. Now, I never had any of those figures back then, but I did have a very good friend who I hung out with all the time, and he had a lot of the Kenner Alien and Predator figures, so I was pretty familiar with these guys, even though I didn't have them myself. And while I couldn't tell you one from the other before I actually started really paying attention for these reviews, they were fun little figures. They're all basically the same little buck body that looked kind of like the normal Predator. A lot of them had removable masks and some kind of rocket firing accessory. And I definitely was interested to see what NECA would do with their own version of it. So let's take a closer look. Like so many Predators before him, he comes with the backpack cannon. A silver color, but it has some blue brushing on it, just kind of look like his skin a little bit. Same thing we've had a million times, but it's not too bad. Now mine came broken, unfortunately. The clip that holds it here at the hinge is actually busted. So it has a tendency to pop out just like that, and then when you try to rotate the cannon at the top, it's a little stiff. So I may end up returning this figure, exchanging him for one that's not messed up. That's a little bit of a bummer, but same old cannon as always. And then he comes with his axe, spear, some kind of weapon. And this is very reminiscent of the Kenner accessory, but much more detailed, much more fleshed out. Just like the backpack, it's silver with traces of the blue on it. It's a curved blade here and then a little end back there, which looks pretty neat. It could be easy to imagine that he'd be slicing at aliens with this end and then like backstabbing them with this. Very primal looking, very cool looking. As for the figure himself, they've basically given us a redo on the Jungle Hunter body. Just a repaint on there. It's got some good detail on it though. The mask is very cool, very unique looking. It does look like the Kenner toy, and it actually has a very cool resemblance to the Xenomorph's head. Kind of has this speckled look going through it, has the glowing green eyes, and then it has this kind of ridge at the top that just reminds me of the alien's dome. There's dreads, a little bit of blue placed in there as well. A lot of that blue going through this whole figure. And as I said, just a very standard body for the Jungle Hunter. Same kind of armor, a little pauldron here on the side. Now his wrist gauntlet is completely different. This backstory NECA gave this figure on the back of the card was that he had crash landed on the alien homeworld and was basically stuck there having to survive and made parts out of his downed ship. So this is kind of this homebrew looking kind of version of the wrist gauntlet, and really cool. Has the little fin there, all these different textures to it, and these two big chunky blades on it. Really neat looking. They don't move, they don't do anything, but they're there. Over here on the wrist, we don't have an actual gauntlet like we have before, but he has a little wristband. Both hands are closed so that he could hold the weapon in both, which is nice. There's a little rubberized loincloth. Traditional upper leg armor. The back of his belt looks a little different, having this little half dome piece. And I guess the back of his loincloth is kind of a different look as well, which is kind of nice. Standard knee pads, all this netting in there, and then some really cool lower leg guards. I think these are really neat looking. They're once again looking like they're part of the ship, and there's some Predator toes. For articulation, standard as always. Ball joint at the head, up and down, side to side, great range of motion. Pin socket shoulders, forward, back. Out to the sides a little stiff and limited. Can bend and rotate the elbow. Ball joint at the wrist. This gauntlet being so big and bulky, I was looking in here, I almost thought it had a separate articulation point where it could swivel. Would have been amazing, would have been great, but no extra articulation. They swivel at the waist. Pin socket at the legs, go forward and back and out to the side. Swivel up, double jointed at the knee, and a ball joint at the foot. Now, before these guys came out, I had a lot of people messaging me and asking me when I was going to review them, when I was picking them up, if I was excited about them. And I really wasn't. I was not sold on this line. I felt like NECA is just stalling to give us the AVP figures that they promised us. They keep seeming to get pushed back further and further. I heard they haven't really been working on any prototypes for them. Hopefully we'll see something by Toy Fair, but I just feel like it's getting dragged out now. The Predator line's starting to get a little long in the tooth, and they're not having as much cool stuff to put out for us anymore, and I think they really need to go back to the movies. Dead End was kind of a nice little side distraction, but this Kenner thing I thought was just a gimmick to pad out the line. But getting this figure in hand, and oddly, really just reading the back of the card and seeing the little backstory assigned to the character, it got me more into the figure than I really had thought I would be. This is what we've gotten a lot of lately. This is a body that we've seen a million times with some tooling changes, a good amount of tooling changes, but there's nothing here that's monumental, groundbreaking, something you've been waiting your whole Predator collection to have. But if you were a fan of those figures back in the 90s, if you remember them growing up, or even if you just want kind of a cool concept Predator, I can definitely give this guy a recommend. He's not bad at all. There's no reason why, if you're aching for some new Predator figures, that you should pass this guy up. Make sure you check out Outside the Box Reviews on Facebook. There'll be a link below. Also, check out Outside the Box Reviews on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. And until next time, stay tuned, because Predator Week is just getting started.
If you collect it, you can find it at allscaleseverything.com.